Greed is one of the most frequently addressed issues in the Bible. But what exactly is greed? Why is it so wrong? And what happens to those who are greedy? The Bible defines greed as the excessive desire to possess more than what one needs or what others have. It's an inner attitude, a condition of the heart. Jesus condemned greed in Mark 7:21-23 when he said, "All these evil things come from inside and make people unclean." Similarly, in Luke 11:39, he criticized the Pharisees, saying, "Inside you are full of greed and evil." This shows that greed is not just about actions, but also an internal condition. Greed is not limited to the rich. Anyone can fall into its temptation. We see this in the parable of the unforgiving servant in Matthew 18:21-35. The Bible provides numerous examples of greed, like the parable of the rich fool in Luke 12:13-21, reminding us that greed is not just about possessions, but about the heart's excessive desire for more. The Bible warns us that the problem is not money or possessions, but the excessive wanting of them. Matthew 6:32 and Proverbs 10:15 acknowledge that humans have basic needs, but we must keep these in balance with a life centered on God. Matthew 4:4 reminds us, a person does not live by eating only bread, but by everything God says. So how can we recognize if we are greedy? 1 Timothy 3:8 asks us to evaluate our actions and see if they harm or exploit others. James 5:4 warns against withholding wages from workers, and Proverbs 15:27 speaks of greed causing unnecessary trouble in families. These verses encourage self-reflection. The Bible also addresses the greed of those who misuse religion for personal gain. 2 Peter 2:3 warns of false teachers who only want your money. The story of Balaam in the Old Testament, referenced in 2 Peter 2:14-15, further illustrates how greed can lead people astray. Greed not only impacts human relationships, but also separates us from God. Matthew 6:24 clearly states you cannot serve both God and worldly riches. Luke 18:25 adds, "It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God." This teaches that greed ultimately turns our focus away from God and his kingdom. However, the Bible also shows us the way to overcome greed. Philippians 4:12 teaches contentment, saying, "I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation." 1 Timothy 6:17 instructs us to honor the Lord with our wealth and to trust in God rather than material things. Finally, Hebrews 13:5 exhorts us to keep your lives free from the love of money and be satisfied with what you have. As John Wesley famously said, "Earn as much as you can, save as much as you can, give as much as you can." Through these scriptures, we see that greed is more than just wanting more. It's a condition of the heart that can harm our relationships with others and with God. By practicing generosity, contentment, and trusting God, we can live lives free from the chains of greed and focused on his kingdom.